Hello everyone, I'm Chris Mullins. I'm the European Product Manager for our professional BRAVIA lineup, and we are here today to talk about partnerships, and this is the latest in our video series around our professional BRAVIA. And I'm here with Jatin.
Hey, Chris.
Thank you very much, Jatin, for joining us.
No worries.
If you would mind introducing yourself.
Absolutely, yeah. Hey everyone, thank you for joining. So I'm Jat, I head up the business development team here at Sony. So primarily we focus on growing business in the existing markets like corporate, but also this year it's been super exciting because we've looked at retail, which has been a new market for us in the last year to penetrate, which we can talk a little bit about now as well.
That's perfect. So yeah, it's great to have you here today, Jatin. So the first thing I want to start with is why do we work with partners? Why is it important for Sony, and why is it important for Sony?
Sure, yeah, great question. So I think just to clarify for our viewers, when we talk about partnerships, it's more the technology partners, non-competing technology partners, rather than our typical resellers and system integrators. I think if you look at the average AV project in the enterprise market, it's fairly complex these days. You could have up to 6, sometimes more, different technology brands and companies coming together to create the solution for the end user. So there has to be interoperability between those technology partnerships to just make that end user experience a bit more seamless. The reseller's job obviously a little bit more easier when it comes to installation and support and configuration as well. So therefore, for vendors like Sony, it's our responsibility to work with other technology brands and make sure there's technical synergy with our BRAVIA LCD range and their products, whether it's a mounting solution, video conferencing solution, digital signage application, etc. Whatever the client needs, we've got to make sure that the whole solution is nicely wrapped up and put together.
Perfect, yeah. And who are the partners that we work with now, and what are the benefits of using those or working with those partners?
Sure, yeah. So we've got quite a few that we've worked with over the years, as you know. And we've got a lot more in the pipeline that we're working on for next year as well, which we can talk about. But I think we try to segment the partners. So we have various hardware partners that complement the BRAVIA, as well as software partners. And we kind of focus on 3 core markets, right? So corporate, education, and retail, which is an exciting new market for us. So we pick the right partners in each of those vertical markets where they're strong in those markets as well, and where there's a demand from the end user to say these are the solutions we need. The other type of partners we put into play is feedback we get from consultants when they're specifying a project. They'll say, for instance, the screen has to be Cisco certified, Crestron certified, etc. So we've almost had to get that certification completed to have a seat around the table, shall we say, to cement ourselves as an enterprise grade display platform. And we've got various stages in that pipeline. When we have a new partner that comes on board, we put them through the technical stage, of course, making sure there's technical synergy. If we have to create any new firmware, etc., we make sure we do that properly. Then there's obviously the marketing stage. So we make sure that once the technical box has been ticked, we tell the wider AV community about it and what the benefits are. And then finally, there's the commercial stage, which is where we work much closer with the partner to offer perhaps a bit more of a discount for the channel, or we just work together to do joint account mapping and things like that. So I'll give you some examples, which is super interesting. We announced at ISE just gone that we're now Cisco certified. So all of the BRAVIA range is Cisco certified. So Cisco on their RoomKit series, they control the display, power, status, and these kind of things based on the CEC pins on the HDMI port. So we had to work with them for quite a few months, update our firmware in order to get the certification done, which is now complete. Existing customers that have BRAVIA, they'll naturally get the updates over the air. And of course, for any new products coming from the factory that has the latest firmware anyway, right? So all the BRAVIA range is Cisco CEC certified, which is great. And again, that was feedback we got from our enterprise end users as well as consultants to say this is something we definitely need, to again provide the benefit of ease of installation, ease of calibration, support, and all those good things. The second example is Crestron. So we again announced at ISE that we are now XIO certified. So Crestron XIO, as you know, they're a cloud-based management platform. And we had to work with them to give them various commands that control the display to import into their global control system. Key benefits there are, if you're an integrator, you don't have to really spend too much time. You can just download the appropriate codes, select the vendor, and then the XIO cloud does its intelligent thing behind the scenes. So similar to the Cisco story, our engineers worked with them, developed the appropriate firmware, and we got that certification complete as well, which is great, because as I say, so to repeat myself, but that really cements Sony in the enterprise display market, you know, as one of the top kind of display brands.
Yeah, and I can really see that really helps the integrator simplify their installation and have everything really at the forefront and ready to go with those partners.
And simplifies support as well. If you're an integrator, you've done your install, it's commissioned, the last thing you want is to have to go back for, you know, multiple times for various troubleshooting. And if they have the peace of mind that Sony's ticked the box behind the scenes with Crestron and with Cisco, then their life is a little bit easier because they know this is going to work, you know. So they're two kind of big ones, but actually what I'm also excited about is Kramer. And the reason why we're interested with Kramer is we've taken it a step further than we have with some of the other technology companies. And I'll give you an example. Kramer have this thing called Brainware, which is their control system. Normally, if you go into a meeting room, enterprise-grade meeting room, you have a touch panel, which could be an iPad or a 7-inch or 10-inch Kramer touchpad. Then you have an external box, which where the Brainware resides on. And then that controls the AV, the HVAC, lighting, and everything in the room. What we've done in the last 12 months with Kramer is develop their Brainware to run off the BRAVIA display itself. So now you can get rid of that external box, which is a great eco story for end users because you know that box took power and it had to be on 24/7. So now it's running in the BRAVIA. You kind of need a display in the meeting room anyway. So why not get it to also act as a controller for your AV and IT? And
I also imagine alongside that is the supply issues we're seeing with all those systems.
Spot on.
And those chipsets we're seeing in the market. So I guess that's
exactly. A lot of customers, resellers are waiting, I think, for a lot of control systems. Whereas I think we're quite lucky. We've had fairly strong stock profiles of the BRAVIA range across Europe, and now with this added functionality with Kramer, you know, if you do need to install your meeting room for control quickly, you can do that actually with Sony and the Kramer solution together.
Yeah, and that's one of the advantages of Sony, right? We have a very powerful system on chip.
That's right.
System, right, with our Android backbone. So what are the benefits around that for the integrators?
Sure, yeah. Well, actually, that is primarily the core reason why the Brainware integration was possible, because they took a look at it and realized actually the CPU, the processor that Sony implemented, and the GPU grunt behind that is fairly powerful. So you can run a system where you're controlling 7-8 devices from the BRAVIA itself. Key benefits, as you mentioned, so no external box, so it saves a bit of cost. Simplicity during installation. The eco story around that is obviously pretty good as well. And then lead time is probably the biggest USP in that particular case with Kramer. And then we'll talk in a minute about the kind of more CMS brands that have developed on our SoC platform and some of the feedback we've got from them, which I'm really excited to share. Just before we move on to that though, the kind of fourth partnership is with Logitech. So, you know, we worked with their sort of rally bar system. Now, you know, Logitech are fairly agnostic. They'll work with any display because it's just ideally a HDMI port into the screen. But we just wanted to do our due diligence and make sure there was no hiccups when connected to a BRAVIA Pro display. So once that box was ticked and we knew everything worked out, we did some Marcoms during ISE just to let people know that, you know, our product works very well with Logitech. But then we wanted to try and do something a bit more unique to offer our resellers and our end users actually. So we're going to be launching very soon a soft bundle with Tech Data in the UK, France and Germany, where, you know, resellers can get a slightly additional discount if they buy a BRAVIA with a Logitech rally bar, and also further discount on the Logitech if it's bought with a Sony BRAVIA. So there's a nice kind of commercial story there to create something unique over and above what they do with other partners. Yeah,
exactly. And looking forward, are there any partnerships that are emerging that we're working with, that we're looking to?
Always. Yeah, I mean, we've now that we have a formal strategic alliance partner program, shall we say, we're always getting partners fed back into the funnel from our regions, from the sales reps, pre-sales guys, from our resellers, consultants and users. They're all feeding back to say, actually, you guys should work with this partner because of X, Y, and Z. Normally it's because they're a key player in the market, or because that end user's got a nice network set up with a particular CMS brand, and now they want to, you know, map it onto a display brand rather than using external players. So we've always got stuff coming down the pipeline. The interesting thing to talk about here is more on the retail side, because it's you know, I think for the last 12 months, it's been a new market for us. And what we found is there's quite a few CMS companies that are strong in the retail market. And traditionally, you know, you need an external player to run a digital signage platform. Whereas the feedback we get from some of these partners when they test the BRAVIA is, number one, it's open standard, so it's based on Android. which has its inherent benefits. The fact that it's open standard means there's thousands of developers making sure that it's secure, and if vulnerabilities are found, they're fixed quickly. And it's more of a community programming experience. So that's great. Obviously, we work as Sony, we work very closely with Google, so we get access to updates probably before even Google publish them to the wider community, so our engineers in HQ can check everything works. So from that perspective, it's a stable platform and it's open, which means easier to develop on.
Sure.
And then, of course, the GPU and the CPU story again. Some of our partners have done third-party benchmark testing, like Motion Mark and things like this. And the feedback has always been that the Sony performs much better than other kind of SoC platforms, shall we say.
Yeah.
And that's a great story for the end user because, again, similar to the kind of Kramer story, you don't need an external box. So it simplifies installation, reducing cost a little bit. There's a little bit of carbon saving because you don't need a box that needs to run 24/7. And then lead times as well. I think some of the CPUs may have struggled from a lead time perspective, whereas actually if you've got everything in the BRAVIA, it's a nice solution. You just need a power cable and a LAN cable and that's it. So to give you some examples, in the UK, we work with Now Signage. Now Signage is a CMS brand, and what they've done is really interesting because they haven't just implemented their CMS app onto our platform, which uses our APIs to control the decoder chip. So the rendering of 4K video is very smooth. But they've also used our APIs to control the BRAVIA as well. So now from a cloud-based platform, anywhere in the world, you can control any BRAVIA if it's running Now Signage, which is a very powerful message because again, normally you'd have another application for remote management and another one for CMS, whereas with the Now Signage story, you can do both on one platform anywhere in the world. So that's super unique and powerful, I think.
For sure. And if people want to find out like which partners we work with and who we do now, where's the best place for them to find out that information?
Sure. So we launched a sort of alliance website, which they can get off the pro.sony homepage, and that lists all of the certified partners from, as I say, various markets, various applications. So if they search for, say, mounts, they'll see companies like Peerless on there that we work with. If they search for IPTV, then in the future we're going to have companies like Triple Play certified. It's in the roadmap. If they search for CMS, then they'll find companies like Novori, for example, who are pan-European or pan-global, I would say. But they've got a lot of projects that we're working with in France. But also companies like SmartSign, based in Sweden, Easy Screen in Germany. So there are quite a few CMS companies that are already certified, if not in the pipeline to be certified. And it should all be available on that Alliance webpage.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Jat, for giving us an overview of all those partnerships. Sounds like with Sony BRAVIA, you have a super simple way of integrating your display, whether it's a retrofit or a new installation. You can get what's needed.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much, Jat. If you want to find out more, as Jat mentioned, go to pro.sony. We've got all the information of all our displays, all our partnerships, and lots of other information there as well. So see you next time on our next video in this series.